Our first speaker is the Chief Engineer of the Vermont Agency of Transportation, Wayne Simmons.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today to kick off this bridge preservation meeting. And on behalf of VTrans, I'd like to welcome you to our Green Mountain State. I hope that during this conference, you do get a chance to get out and sample some of what we have to offer here. And I personally think that you're visiting this state at absolutely the best time of the year, although I know some skiers would probably disagree with that. For my money, this is absolutely the best time of the year. I spent the first 25 years of my career here at VTrans working on bridges. Started out as a designer and designing bridge projects. Spent 10 years doing that. Went on into construction of bridges for a while and back to project management, and spent a couple of years more recently as the state bridge engineer. As a chief engineer, I have to often pretend that bridges don't have a special place in my heart. My deputy chief engineer constantly reminds me in meetings and other things that I'm not supposed to get into the weeds when it comes to bridges. Because if something comes up, I'm often there to offer an idea or unsolicited or not. Anyway, so today is really a pleasure. I can get into the weeds for a few minutes with all of you, and it looks like a really great agenda. My time here has let me know that, or I understand firsthand how important the work that you all do is for bridges in Vermont and for other states. We're challenged every day with not as much money as we would like to do what it is that we need to do, and also at the same time, I think every state is experiencing the same thing that we have, which is an aging infrastructure that challenges us every day to figure out how we can extend the life. I'm often told by others, and I don't necessarily believe it, that bridge engineers can be conservative and they're not really open to change or new ideas. I think we all agree that that's not true, right? We're very innovative and we're very open and early adopters of new technology. With that, I'm challenging all of you here looking at the agenda. I think there's something for everybody that we can all take home and use in our states and put to work in preserving our bridges. I know I look forward to the technology transfer that my staff is going to have, and I'll be following up with them in a few months to see what ideas we might be doing in Vermont based on what they heard here today. The picture up on the screen is a picture of the Quechee Gorge Bridge. I just put that on there because I know there's going to be a presentation later in this session by JB about the Quechee Gorge. And to me, this is the poster bridge in Vermont for why bridge preservation is so important. And JB is going to talk to you about the historic nature of the bridge and its setting, but to me, this is what I consider a bridge that needs to be there forever. You know, as I look at this is really why we're here to talk about bridge preservation today. Vermont is small, but we have our share of bridges. And I thought I would just give just a brief introduction to what our bridge population is here in Vermont. We track our bridge assets in 3 categories, not surprisingly, interstate, state highway, but we also have a significant number of town highway bridges. In Vermont, like most other New England states, we don't have a real strong county government. There's the breakdown, as you can see, about 500 bridges on the interstate system, 1,800 on the state highway, and about 1,600 on the town highway system. We also classify in Vermont structures greater than 6 feet as bridges. So we also track our structures by longs and shorts, with the short structures being between 6 and 20 feet, and anything longer than 20 feet is a long structure. This just gives you an idea of what it is that we're dealing with in Vermont. We're a small state, we have a relatively small budget, and I thought I would just give you an idea of what our investment rate has been over the last 5 years for the combined bridge assets. So I didn't break this down between the different categories, and the Agency of Transportation does provide locals some money through the Town Highway Bridge Program to work on their bridges as well. If you look at that, it's been about $100 million for 5 years. As we look forward, I don't anticipate seeing that that's going to grow significantly in the more recent out years. So at the same time, I wanted to give you a sense on where we are with percent of structurally deficient bridges. And I know structurally deficient guy, and we haven't really gone to reporting out on poor yet, although I believe that we'll be doing that soon. So this is a slide that I present to the legislature, grabbed it right from that presentation, so it does still have structurally deficient. But what you can see is that, in the last 10 years, we've gone from something like 18% structurally deficient down to, in 2018, less than 5%. It's about 2% on the interstate system, about 5.5% on the state bridge system, and less than 10% right now on the town highway system, I think maybe 7%. So we've made some good progress in the last 10 years, and we're really proud of that. And I thought maybe I'd just take a second to talk just briefly about how are we making the progress. Certainly it's not by investing a tremendous amount of money. Really, this has been, for a while now, an all-in approach to good ideas and new technology and looking for ways to improve those numbers. For more than 10 years now, we've really been taking asset management seriously, and probably for the last 6 or 7 years, really using that to drive our project selection and enhancing our scoping to make sure that we are doing what it is we need to do, with less emphasis on full bridge replacement and more emphasis on smaller targeted fixes. We're aligning our maintenance activities with our design and construction activities. We've really bought into a big way on accelerated bridge construction. I'll talk about that just a little bit more in a minute. But also, alternative contracting has been a big story in what we've been able to do. We've used design build, CMGC, and most recently, and more appropriately, do bridge preservation, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, where we're using federal funds now to get out and do smaller targeted maintenance activities using IDIQ to deliver those dollars really efficiently. Just wanted, because it's such a big part of the story, accelerated bridge construction. Here's some numbers of where we've been over the last 7 years. And you can see that in the last 7 years, over 50% of our projects, major projects, whether they're rehabilitations or bridge replacements, have used accelerated bridge construction. This has allowed us to stretch our dollars, to deliver projects faster than we ever have, and really get at some of our problem bridges. I'm going to wrap this up, but I just wanted to add this to my presentation. This year in Vermont, we've had a particularly rough time in our work zones. We've had 2 fatalities of workers in our work zones this year. Both of them happen to be flaggers. And we've also had a couple of injuries with flaggers. In addition to that, one that sent the flagger to the hospital for a period of time. I don't have any great insight as to what it's going to take to have safer work zones, other than I believe that speed is the driving factor in a lot of what's going on out there in work zone safety. But I do think that all of us as engineers or folks that write specifications for projects, that we do have a part to play in terms of planning our activities so that they can be safe. And so I guess I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't remind everybody that there's a role in this for all of those that do in terms of planning our work zones and to try to be safe out there. So with that, I'm going to step aside, but again, just say thank you all for coming to Vermont for this conference. And I hope you have a great conference. And if any of you have any questions about sights to see or anything like that, please tap one of my staff on the shoulder and ask for directions, and safe travels home.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.